we begin our theme for the month. And that theme was all things great and small. And we talked about that whether big or small, that God is that God is everywhere. So as we move forward today, it's recognizing that not only is God everywhere, but that it is for us to recognize, to take that God into everything, to be God in everything. So my intention today is to help us really understand our relationship with moving forth and being the expression of the divine in our lives, that are these hands that make a difference in the world, and that the things that we do impact others, not just superficially, but maybe on the deep level, that because we recognize the divine in all and we show up as the divine, we may be impacting lives in a way that they desperately needed in that moment, that only you were the one to show up to be that love and compassion in their lives. So, this week I saw, I can relate to it because I've been in this position. I'm coming out of the grocery store and I can see down the lane a woman is trying to put her groceries in the back of her car. And as she tries to pick up the groceries and turn like this, the car does what? It starts heading downhill. And I don't mean just kind of inching. It acted like it had an intent of somewhere to go. It was heading. And she kept trying to grab it and go back and forth. In the midst of this, as I'm heading toward her, I watched someone just walk over, put his hand on the basket, and hold that basket. He wasn't looking for anything, any kind of expectations. He just saw a need and he fulfilled it. His act of kindness showed up right then where it was needed, when it was needed. And that reminded me that, to me, that's how love shows up in the world. It shows up in those small things often and shows up right in the moment. It isn't something that has to be planned. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It's so much of kindness, which is the expression of our love within us, our compassion within us, which is the divine arising within us, comes from those small acts. There's last week I talked about the mustard seed. Okay? It's okay if you weren't here for that, but if you don't even know that story. But Jesus Christ is credited with saying that the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. And if you've ever seen a mustard seed, I could hold it and you still couldn't see it. Okay? It'd be so small. What that means is, from small things, great things arise. It's, to me, the teaching, part of the teaching within that. From small things, great things arise. And even Eric Brotherworth, who's a Unity minister and author, he said, we're not here to set things right, but to see them rightly. Okay? To see them rightly means to see the divine, see God here in this expression, and then to act rightly. Because once we see rightly, then we can see the actions that are ours to take. We can act rightly with that. And science tells us that. How many of you? I watched Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says things that just make my head explode. I was saying to Astor earlier about saying something to make my head explode. I'm like, oh my, that is just almost beyond my ability to comprehend. But he also shares in that how things within science are showing how interconnected we are, how everything is interconnected, but also how the discovery of one thing impacts another branch of science that impacts another branch of science that impacts another branch of science. So that one thing that one scientist decided they were going to publish a paper on actually shifts the whole experience. It shifts all of the awareness in science, and that all scientists, all those people involved with that, are impacted with that. And I think that when we're talking about being the divine in the world, that we're talking about that same kindness that steps out into the world and brings a difference to the world, not just to one individual, because as we're changing that one individual, stepping up and being that love for them, they in turn become what? Hopefully more loving, more kind, more compassionate, and that cascades out. That makes a difference that we see greater healing, greater transformation in our world. I want to play something for you this morning. That's a pond. Okay? So think of that pond as this wonderful field of collective consciousness. And let's see what's about to happen to that collective consciousness. What happened when that stone hit that collective consciousness? What did it do? It rippled. It rippled. That's what we do in this world with our actions, is that we have a rippling effect we carry out. And what we don't know is how far that carries and who it impacts, right? We may see it in this one moment, but we don't see where that carries. But also, what else did you notice? The splash and how many little droplets carried out and how many more ripples that happened. And to me, that's us. We don't know how many other people we impacted and how they then rippled out and impacted the world. And that the more we do that, the more we're making a difference in this world that I continually, like you, are exposed to the anger and the hatred and the division and the war and the death and the suffering that takes place, and know that there's hope within that. That the more we step into this world aware of our own spiritual nature, our own divine nature, that God dwells here as well, that we can see that moving out into the world and making a difference. I believe that we're the people that will do that. And we can look around and say, well, ain't very many in this room. All right. Well, how many does it take? How many do you impact? And I impact, and we impact. And how many do they impact? And what kind of changes can we make this world? And I don't know how long that will take and when we will see the accumulation of that, but I believe it's already taking place. And that the more we recognize the divine within us, and the more we take that into the world and become the service in the world. Because these hands are not just about those only loving, kind acts, but that we're being of service. We're the service of God. We're the divine showing up in the world. And the more we do that, the more our world is impacted, the more we make a difference. So I want to bring Brittany up again. And she's going to share, as she voiced, remember the movie Crocodile Dundee? Crocodile was talking about, he used the term being on a walkabout. I view that Brittany has been on a walkabout, which is just meandering in some ways, but growing, discovering, and experiencing. And she's just going to share some things with us, and we'll go from there, from what she's going to share.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best. My heart's kind of racing right now, so. But this is what exactly I'm going to speak from is my heart. So to go off of what Russ has been talking about, actually the past few weeks, last Sunday and this Sunday, is God is everywhere, and I personally feel that God is in everything. Nothing is separate. And is it on? So, with that being said, let me see what wants to come out of this. Because if anybody knows me and knows me well, I'm not afraid to speak it, but I can ramble on about my connection with God and or whatever language you prefer to call God. I use the word God because I know that's relative to a lot of individuals in my country. But God is infinite, it's source. It can be divine Sophia, it can be Buddha, Jesus, and I have learned this in my travels. So in my travels, I've been on a big journey, right? So I've been on a big journey of inner work, learning how to make changes in myself and knowing that I have choices and knowing how I work. That's what it's been about, is learning how I work. And as I learn how I work, I learn how God works, because we're all an extension of God. So I've been going on these few journeys in the past few years. It's like it keeps bringing me even closer to this knowledge. And I've been able to now feel it. I mean, I've been feeling this connection for a minute. It took me a while to feel it because I was so caught up in the language that I was hearing the language, but not knowing what it actually meant until I caught the feeling of God. And I'm like, okay, so it's not a word, it's a true feeling that you feel inside. And so I'm kind of chasing that feeling, right? I am I'm catching on, and that's what wisdom is, right? Is that inner speaking of God. And so I've been trusting this wisdom, trusting this inner voice. And it took me in my travels of India. I actually had went to Mexico the year before, or maybe, yeah, it was in 2023. And I was trusting that voice then, but there was some kind of uncomfort, really, really major uncomfort during that journey. I had a few little lessons I had to keep learning, and then it carried me on to the next vibration of myself. Because I think we were all frequencies, and so I had to go through one little last journey, and it brought me to my dear friend, who I ended up going on these travels with to India. And we planted the seed to go to India together, and we did it. We went on these travels, and we had no idea how it was all going to play out. Everyone likes to think when you go on these travels that it's just like everything is rainbows and sunshine and like nothing uncomfortable happens. Like it's a ride, and you have somebody else that you're riding with. And so we were really learning how to work with each other in this. And our perceptions were a little bit slightly different. And that was okay. And we just kept communicating. And there would be things that would just happen. And I would just try to find a way to laugh it all off. But God works through every single thing. When you're in India, there's so much chaos, so much going on. Really, you have no other choice but to trust. And so I was using this as a tool, all the energy that was surrounding me as a tool to just trust the process, no matter what was happening at that time. Because we would think that we're going to go this one direction, and then something would happen and it would take us a completely other direction. So that was God the whole time. That was energy. It's energy moving through us. And even though we're saying, no, well, we want to go this way, it's saying, no, you got to go this way. And so it's just finding that peace to trust it, to let go of that resistance. And there was a lot of resistance. There's a lot of resistance within us. And once you just learn to just take a deep breath, okay, this is what it is. How can I control this vessel? What can I make of this moment? Do I need to pause? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to laugh? Do I need to cry? So I was just allowing myself to feel every emotion that would come up. And I'm really learning me, learning how to work with me and trusting the energy that was surrounding me and learning how to adapt because everything is always changing, always. And that's the beauty of life. We get to experience that. And that's what's part of our growth is because we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. And so the one of the very last part of our India trip, we have this bus ride to get back to New Delhi because we got a flight to make. Fortunately, we gave ourselves 2 days in advance to leave. And we're on the other side, a good 12-hour bus ride. And coincidentally enough, right, we get there for the bus. Oh, the bus is canceled.
Oh, wow.
It's like they said there was going to be flooding, right? There was no rain. I didn't see any rain. I was like, okay. I just start laughing, and it always helped her because because laughter just does it, right? It's like I just started laughing. I was like, of course this is happening. It's like, did you think that it was gonna be easy to get home? Did you really think it was gonna be like that? No, because this is how it works. Because we get, I don't want to use the word tested, but things get presented to see how we're going to handle it. And so we end up choosing to get a cab ride the next day. We're going to sleep this off. We got a cab, we got everything situated. And then in this car ride on the way back, I mean, and it was wild because the roads were blocked off because there's supposed to be like this major flooding, but the sun was just shining brightly. And there was so much traffic, so we had to go these back roads, right? We had to go in these major back hilly roads, mountainous roads. And I have never seen anything like what I was seeing in these travels. I mean, you overlook and there's these clouds and these beautiful like mist, and then over here you see these mountains and the trees and these major, beautiful, strong waterfalls. I mean, I'd only seen stuff like this in TV. Like I'm from Arkansas. I may have traveled a little bit outside of the country or out in my country, and I'm starting to make more moves outside of my country now. And so seeing these waterfalls, I mean, massive waterfalls just flowing out. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I was just like, this is what God wanted to show me. Like he didn't want me to sit in this bus ride with all of these people, for 12 hours. He wanted me to be comfortable and to be able to see this beautiful view. And it was just like, and then we had a moment where the cab driver stopped because there was the scenery that was just absolutely stunning. And we just took a deep breath, and I just sent my gratitude. Like I was just so grateful to be able to see this. And then we get to the next bus stop that we were supposed to go to, and everything was everything is in divine. I had this other plan that I wanted to do in New Delhi, and God had something else. And so I just trust. I'm at a place in my life now that I learned how to work with the energy around me, whatever gets presented. And sometimes it gets so uncomfortable. It gets really uncomfortable. I allow myself to feel it. And sometimes I might look like a lunatic because I'm crying and laughing at the same time. But I give myself that grace. And yeah, so my journey has been learning how to really connect with divinity, with source, And I fully trust. I don't know what this will all end up and what will come out of all of this, but I do know I'm here to serve of some sort, and that's what I intend to do. Is I am here to serve our source, and so yeah. So thank you for listening to me ramble. Hope that went with what we were talking about. I did my best.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We planned that. No, not really. We only planned that from the idea of I kind of told her what I was going to talk about. Then I didn't really talk about that much this morning. And she shared that story and she went from there. So I commend her taking that and sharing that with us.
Inspired.
Inspired, yes. And with her sharing, I'm going to invite you. You're the one that gets to give meaning and value to life. What did that she shared bring to you? In other words, what did you get from it? What did you hear? What did you experience? What are you taking away from what she just shared? Trust the process, okay? What else?
Show up.
Show up, okay? Wonderful.
Laugh.
One more time.
Laugh.
Laugh.
Resilience.
Resilience, okay?
I was going to say what you just said is that you get to add the meaning and value to life. But she could have gone to see all that beautiful scenery and like slept through it or just been like annoyed at it. But she chose to see the beauty and the gratitude, and she made that meaning in that moment.
Thank you. Yes.
I marked the smart quote. I go with the flow. I grow with the flow.
I go with the flow. I grow with the flow. Yes.
Living in the moment.
Living in the moment. Living in the God moment.
And that could be very challenging.
We don't know anything about that, do we?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the evolution. That's part of our growth. That's part of our experience for us. So all those things and more, because in this moment, she shared herself. She shared a kindness. And what we don't know is we've heard some of what we took away from it, but we didn't hear all of it. And we don't know where that will travel, how it will ripple out in this life. Would her kindness to us would then impact us, her kindness for others? And what kind of changes in our world will be inspired just because somebody went on a walkabout around India and Nepal, right? That chose, in some ways, she chose a spiritual journey. She wasn't ignorant to the fact. She knew that there was a spiritual evolution taking place in this journey. And she chose to share just a very small piece of that experience with us up here. So this week, what act of kindness can you bring forward this week? How can you make it visible? You don't have to answer that. You can, but you don't have to answer that.
But that would be maybe someone struggling physically, mentally, or like someone they can't like fix at home and they can't afford it. Like it was like that. Someone out or even tutor. I'm very passionate about the literacy, like for children, someone who literacy tutor. How are you? How are you? Something the food petitions, clean up a lot, things like that.
So seeing a need and filling it, as well as how do you help others help themselves? Literacy is the same with that. Yes. So what are those acts that we can do as individuals? And I didn't say that you needed to go solve all the woes of the world. What are those small acts that you can do? I'm happy if you've got a plan to work on all the woes of the world. Okay. Let me know. I might want to jump on board with that. But I'm talking about the things that when you see the need in the moment, what can you do? How can you show up? How can you be the man just walking down a parking lot and stick a hand out, hold the basket for a moment, literally? How can you be that in this experience of life? And with that, maybe for what Scott was sharing is, who in this world needs to see God in action this week? Who are the people in the world that need to see that God exists here and that you are that expression, bringing that forward? That might be more organized for us because in service. It doesn't have to be, but it might be. Just inviting, we'd be asking these questions. We need to be stepping up and seeing where we can contribute, where we can be that love in action in lives. So with that, if you'll join me in a prayer. Because as we stand in this community, we open to the consciousness that God is here present with us. Being that God is in everything, God being in us, that we're the hands that move into the world to be God expressing. Our actions are God actions. And how can we take that kindness? Who is it that we're to be of service to in this world? Is that person that we simply stumble across? Yes. Is that those people that we look at and conspire? How can we help them as a people? The answer is yes to that as well. So this week, we look for the places that we can say yes. Yes to the divine within us. Yes to the divine in these hands moving forth. And yes to the world being changed and transformed because God is in everything. And with that, we say thank you. And so it is. Amen. This is a time for our giving. And I invite that if you've given online, then hold the intention for what you've already shared with us in mind and heart. If you're giving today, please just hold that in hand so that you physically can bless that. Because as we understand in unity, generosity is about creating that flow of God within you. Yes, this community benefits by your generosity. We put that money to good use, I assure you. But we also know that that generosity changes you. So as you have those gifts, whether physically with you or held in mind, let's say our giving blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I send it forth with my blessings and my love.